Hello everyone and welcome to part 9 of my car tier list. Now if you've not watched one of these before and you're unfamiliar with the way this works is the cars that are in this video were selected from the comments in the last video, and if you'd like to see some cars in the next video just put a comment in and I'll add the car. So yes, let's just get on with it. Our first car is the Mercedes-Benz EQE SUV. Now this is something I really hate about modern Mercedes. They've mostly gone away with all the V8 savagery and all the old-fashioned look. I mean, to be fair, Mercedes has always been a very tech-focused company. I just don't like modern tech in cars that much, so that makes me like them a lot less than I have Mercedes of old. And yes, they have gone away with a lot of the V8 savagery, although this isn't an AMG, so it's not really guilty of that. Although I can't say I really like the car to begin with. I think it's really, really ugly, and it's just another one of these electric SUVs that's just really the same as any other. I think it's going to go down here. It certainly wasn't going to go anywhere very high. Next we have the Jeep Commander, which is another one of those Jeeps that they tried to use to plug the gap in between the other models, like the larger models like the Grand Cherokee and the smaller Wranglers and things. Didn't really work that well, especially not over here in the UK where next to no one bought them. But I mean, it's not as bad as the modern stuff. I mean, it's got some off-road ability, but not really as much as a proper Jeep. But it's not the most egregious example of an SUV. I think I'm going to put it here, seems fair. Next, this is the Skywell BE11, which I've got nothing much to say about it other than the fact that it's another one of these Chinese electric SUVs that everyone seems to hate, but everyone seems to buy, so here we are. I mean, they do seem to be taking over the car world, which may be down to other manufacturers' complacency, but other than that, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's just fairly standard. There's nothing outwardly notable about it, be it bad or good. I just don't like SUVs. That's as much as I can say about it, and it's not really that high quality compared to the rest, so I suppose that's really something you can say against it. Next car, the Lexus UX. Now, my take on this car is that they couldn't stop styling it. It's got so many angles and points and curves and slashes. Like, at some point they needed to stop. Like, anywhere else they'd eventually stop and right, we've designed the car enough, we've put enough extra details into it. With the Lexus, they didn't stop until the car was practically off the production line. It's just really, really over-designed. And unfortunately, despite my love for Lexus, it didn't really produce an excellent looking car. In fact, quite the opposite. So I think I'm going to put it here. Now this is a very good car. This is something I adore greatly, the Lotus Turbo Esprit. Now, if you ask a child to draw a supercar, there's a very high likelihood that you'll end up with something like this. The classic wedge shape. It's just iconic. It's the supercar for a generation. I suppose it shares that title with the Countach for that generation, but this thing is an iconic shape, and I don't care that it was built in a shed in a rainy day in Norfolk. I don't really care. It's just a fantastic shape, and it's just, for the time, it was a very good supercar. I mean, obviously now it's so very flawed and so very British-built shed sports car, but for the time it's brilliant, it's iconic, I love it. I don't care that it's flawed. I think putting it, I'm going to have it below the Ferrari FF, and I'm moving this GT40 and this Gallardo Superleggera up a little bit because I'm completely indecisive. In fact, the GT40 and the Superleggera are going up a bit further. Yes. But yes, let's continue with the new cars, because I'm sure that's what you're all here for if you're a returning viewer, of course. Of course, if you're new to this, I advise you to go and check out the previous episodes, but if not, just stick with this. I mean, I'm sure you can pause and see where everything is and whether it's badly placed or not. Next car, the absolutely glorious Renault 5 Turbo 2. This thing is the epitome of Group B craziness. It's a normal Renault 5, except it's not. They basically took a Renault 5 and threw just about everything away, and then put a crazy wide body on it, and made it mid-engined and an absolute monster to drive. And not necessarily in a good way, it is very, very leery. But that's why I love it. It's just bonkers crazy, and really the very definition of what Group B was about and why it was eventually banned for being ridiculously dangerous. But this, I love it. I think it's one of the greatest hot hatchbacks of all time. Certainly up there with the 205 GTI, but is it better than the 205 GTI? Possibly not, but I like it more. I like it more than the 205 GTI. It's potentially my favourite hatchback ever made. I mean, like, calling it a hatchback by the loosest definition, because it's mid-engine, it's not got back seats, it's a lot closer to a supercar than an ordinary Renault 5, and that's another reason why I love it. It's like I love these homologation specials that basically throw away everything from the existing car and it only barely resembles it. I just love that about those sorts of things. Next car, the VW ID Buzz. Now, I've gone for the cargo variant because I can rant a bit more about it. The normal one I don't like, it's ugly, but maybe it's more of a fashion statement. I like the original Type 2, although certainly not as successful as the original Type 2. The ID Buzz Cargo, though, is supposed to be a practical cargo van, but it doesn't really achieve that because it's far too expensive compared to what a van should be, because even if you're in the market for a new van, you're probably not going to go after something ridiculously expensive if you're just wanting it for your company or for your own personal use if you're a plumber or something. And it's electric as well, which means a lot of drivers, like let's say you're a postman or a delivery driver, you'll be driving around all day, and a short range is potentially not very nice, and it gets even worse like in the winter when electric car ranges are shorter by default, but also that you're going to be using more electricity by having the heating on, and otherwise it's not going to be very good. And I suppose the argument could be made, you're having your lunch, you could have the car charging while you're eating, but again, it's just a lot more flawed than a conventional van, and it's also very ugly, so I can't really rate it all that highly. I mean, certainly it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, it's got some redeeming features. It's like it doesn't catch fire, for example. The wheels don't fall off. It doesn't suddenly implode upon itself. But other than that, it's not really brilliant. I think I'm going to put it here. Next we have the Tesla Model S Plaid. Now, I really can't stand Teslas. They're poorly made. They constantly catch fire. The owners tend to have a holier-than-thou attitude about them, and they're just really ugly and really boring and soulless. Like, they've taken away all of what makes a super saloon fun, at least in the Model S Plaid. Yes, it has absurd levels of acceleration, but that's only fun as a party trick once or twice. In a normal super saloon, take your BMW M3 or an Audi RS4. That's fun all the time because you've got that engine, the much sharper and more responsive handling that you get from the car being lighter because it's not an EV. And you don't have all the technology that will eventually go wrong. And yes, older BMW M3s and things, yes, they do have some tech on it, but a lot of it is repairable or otherwise not necessary. If it stops working, the car won't suddenly cease to function. With this, if you don't get the correct software updates, you don't have a working car anymore. So yeah, I really, really can't stand it. I mean, I'm sure I've voiced my hatred for Teslas before. I mean, technically the Model S Plaid is one of the better ones, but it's not going anywhere near the top. Anyway, next car, the Hyundai Insta, which is actually an SUV technically, although it is little, but it's not. It's like this weird space in between a city car and an SUV, but it's what they're trying to sell as their smallest car, because I don't believe they're making the i10 anymore in just all over the world really, except the US. But yeah, in Europe they're actually doing quite well. I can't really say I like them because they're just fairly standard cars. I mean, they're not the worst thing in the world. They're not egregious in any aspect. They're just kind of average, if not below average. I think putting it above the Niva is going to be fine. I'm going to move the Ram TRX up a bit. Yes. Next car. Now this is a car I've talked at great length about on my previous video. Actually, not my previous video, but the video before that. The XJR 575, which for me, it's peak Jaguar. This is the very definition of what a Jaguar should be, and they've lost their way a bit now, but hopefully that doesn't detract from the fact that this is a proper old-fashioned V8 rear-wheel drive, tyre smoking, big Jag saloon, and I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, it's like a car that grows old disgracefully, and I love it all the more for it because it was completely outdated for the time, but you don't care. You've got a big fire-breathing Jag, and that's brilliant. I think I'm going to put it one step above this Audi RS6. I'm happy with that. I'm also going to, this GT40 and this Gallardo they're just going higher and higher, aren't they? Eventually they're going to climb to the top and overthrow the Zonda. Nah, I doubt it. I doubt I'm going to find something I like more than a Zonda. Next car, the Abarth 595. Now I'm going to butcher this. SSE. Now, this was not the first hot hatchback. Yes, it's small, but it's not a hatchback. So if anyone claims that it's one of the first hatchbacks, like with the original Mini, no. First hot hatchbacks were things like the Talbot and Talbot Lotus and the Simca. Now, this I love. It's just so tiny and it's got so little power, but it's light and fun and it's got such a personality. It's got such a giant slayer personality about it, and you just can't help but love it. It's a lovable car in the same vein as the Frog Eye Sprite. But where does it go? Above the Celica. I think that's a fine place to put it. Next we have the Alfa Romeo Tonale. Now this is another crossover SUV, but I don't hate it as much as the others. Yes, I'd prefer if it was a proper hatchback or a saloon, but it does have some of the Alfa magic injected into it. Not as much as you would find in the Giulia, or even the Stelvio to be fair, but some of it is there, elevating it above a couple of the others, but not really to anywhere noteworthy. I mean, it's not that bad of a looking of a thing either. I don't know, Alphas almost always get the styling right. I mean, there are exceptions, the SZ, but this isn't too bad. As much as I detest them, I can't bring myself to hate it all that much. Maybe that's just because I like Alphas, because they're consistently so flawed, but so charming at the same time. Next, we have the Nissan Stagea, the 260 RS, I believe. Now, this is basically a Nissan Skyline estate, and that's just brilliant. It's not the fastest one. There's the Ortec, which is even better, but that's not this one. This I love. I think this is so absurdly underrated because, I mean, to be fair, I do hear a lot of people talking about them. I suppose understated is a better word because no one barely even knows what they are outside of car enthusiasts, obviously. But even then, it's just a very nicely styled thing. It's got the workings of a Volvo brick, at least for the rear end. And I don't know, I just like the fact that it's like mostly branded as a Stagea rather than a Nissan, so it gives it a bit more. I don't know. Do I want to say exclusivity? I'm not sure, but I don't know. It's got that about it. I really, really like it. Certainly more than. I'm going to put it one step above the Forester STI, I think. I'm going to move this GTA Spino down a bit. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to move this core. To be fair, I'm going to move all of those three down and just above move the mirror up. That makes more sense, really, than moving all of them down individually. Next, the Hyundai Santa Fe, which is just a car bought by people who don't care about cars, and that's probably the most damning verdict I could give to it. I'm going to put it here. Next car, another Hyundai, the Ioniq 7 Concept. I believe they're making a production variant of this, but this one I find slightly more interesting because it's a concept car and the styling is certainly different. It's clearly a concept car. I don't like it that much though because it doesn't really do anything new or different, and if it did do something new or different, I'd rather it did something new or different that was good, but it doesn't really do anything that different. It's very clearly previewing a production model, so yes, it's not really that interesting, but it's not the worst thing in the world. think putting it is fair. Maybe a bit higher. I mean, that's pretty damning to all these cars. Like, there's nothing special about them. Next car, the Dodge Journey, which is famously known for being terrible. That's all you need to hear. And this was in America, where people tend to have lower standards for cars, as you can see whenever an American company tries to sell its cars in Europe. Now, I think it's fair to put it... I'm going to put it here. Yes, I think that's fair. Next car, the original BMW M6. Now, I've got the newer M6 on here. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The perfect M6 would have this generation's engine, because it's a V10 and it's great, with the newer gen's styling. But there's nothing like that. So it's up to me. Do I prefer the newer gen's styling over the older generation's engine? And the answer is, I think I'd rather have the older version with the engine than the newer version with the improved styling. Could be controversial, but I like the old styling. I prefer the one on the second generation, but the older one, I can never wrap my head around why people think it's ugly. Certainly when you compare it to newer BMWs like the XM or the iX. But no, I think even in isolation, this is a good looking car. I'm sure I'm going to stir up a storm in the comments. But yes, next car, the Volkswagen Thing. Now, I kid you not, that's what it's called. And for me, I see it as sort of a rival to the Mini Moke. But can they really be rivals when this class of car is so wonderfully absurd that very few are going to be sold anyway, and they're just going to be cult icons no matter what? Like, it's a very terrible thing. But yeah, the Thing is a terrible thing. But I'm glad it exists, and the world would be a sadder place if it didn't. Sort of like the PLP 50 in that regard, although I have to rate it above that because, well, it's a car, unlike these, which are glorified goldfish bowls. Certainly the Trident. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's fair. Because it's a lovable thing, but I don't know, I can't bring myself to see it as that brilliant. I'm going to move it above these Tahoes. Next car, the new Nissan Rogue, and I think this is a Pathfinder. I might have got those two mixed up, but that's because they're both equally as boring as one another. I find it funny, I've got all these new Nissan SUVs on this list, and no Skylines. Well, I suppose except the Stagea, but that's not really a Skyline by name. Yes. Next car, the Acura NSX Type S, which is the only Acura branded as exclusively an Acura. Well, the only NSX, I mean, branded exclusively as an Acura, because the rest were either Hondas or Hondas rebadged to Acuras. But because Honda saw there was only really some amount of demand for the NSX in North America, they did the hot version, the Type S, only as an Acura, which is a bit of a shame. The NSX deserved a lot better. It was clever, it was sharply styled, it was good dynamically, but it just didn't have the same wow factor as some of its rivals like Lamborghini Huracan, which was in part to its V6 engine, but I didn't mind that all that much, truth be told. But yeah, the Type S deserved better, and I do have a fondness for it. I think I'm going to put it above the 750S, but now below the 12C, which I've just moved up a bit. Yes. Next, this. Now this is the MG Whale. Now, I'd never heard of this car before because it's only sold in Arab countries. And I'm very glad about that, because it means I rarely, if ever, will have to lay eyes upon one, because it's absolutely hideous. It's not a pretty sight. I mean, if you name a car a whale, that doesn't really have positive connotations when you name a car, because if I think of car and whale, I'll think of something that's too heavy and doesn't drive very well. Cars do better if they're named after light, agile things, not this. And it's just about the same as everything else. And I don't like this new iteration of MG. I liked MG, the original classic British sports car company, even when they were being destroyed by British Leyland. But the new MG is just a shadow of its former self, really. I mean, yes, the X-Power brand is trying to inject performance back into it, but it's not really doing a very good job about it, is it? Now, I think, yeah, here's a good place to put it. It's like barely out of our lowest category. I mean, except for these awful Soviet cars and the Cybertruck, but they're special. They are. Next car, the BMW X6, the newest version. Now, if I was shopping for a BMW, a new BMW, I mean, I wouldn't, but if I put myself in that person's mindset, right, they have a range of cars for people with many different budgets and with many different requirements, but I have the requirement of I need to waste a lot of money and I need to buy a car that's absolutely hideous and will make everyone ridicule me. Fortunately, BMW provide that service for me and I can buy myself an X6. Why? Why would you buy this? There's so many better options available, even if you're looking for an SUV or even an SUV coupe. There's so many better looking variants, even though I detest those classes of car. The X6 invented the coupe SUV class, so it's brought that stain upon humanity. This is a truly hateful car. It's going down here where it belongs. Even the fast versions, the X6Ms, can't save it because they're still stupid. Anyway, little mini rant over. Next car, the Acura ILX, which is basically, if you're unfamiliar with Acura, they're only really sold in North America and they're basically Porsche Hondas, and this is basically their attempt at making a car that will compete with things like the BMW 3 Series and the Audi A4. And truth be told, at least in America, it does a fairly successful job at that. It's not as good as those cars, but of course, if you put the right marketing, the worst product will sell. And surprisingly, it manages to do that, despite you'd think BMW and Audi and companies like that, being the more established brands, would pull off greater sales. I mean, it's certainly not got anything wrong with it, it's just not as good as those other cars. I think putting it here is acceptable. It is a fairly average car. Now, the Subaru B9 Tribeca. Now, when a car is being designed, it has to go through so many stages, and when they were designing the Tribeca, at no point did someone stop and think, right, what we've designed is a car with potentially the ugliest front end ever. Like, that front end had to pass through so many design stages and get approved by so many people before going out to the general public, and no one thought we should maybe change that, at least get rid of the weird moustache grills on the side. No one thought that, and as a reward for their obliviousness, the B9 Tribeca was an absolute sales disaster, and I have to say it serves Subaru right, because there is no excuse for this, no excuse whatsoever. This is an absolutely shocking piece of car design. I mean, I'm no car designer, but I'm sure even I could come up with something a little bit better than that. Now, next, this is a Chevrolet Trax, and I and my fellow British and European viewers will know it better as the Vauxhall Mokka, or Opel Mokka, because Europe, yeah, I somehow forgot about that. Now, that's known for being a terrible car that people who don't really care about cars buy, again, but unlike the Hyundai, it's worse. It's really, really bad. It's plasticky, it's noisy, it's not really, it's ugly, as you can see. It's honestly in a similar vein to the Dodge Journey. I could alternate these two whichever way round I want, really. Anyway, next car. Now this is the thing I love. The Lexus RCF. Now, this is a car that's not as good as its rivals, but it's more endearing because it's like an old school V8 muscle car, and I find it brilliant, especially in a loud colour like this orange. I just find it lovable, especially with that lovely engine, the brilliant styling. It's just really quite an unusual thing. It's a car that's not as good as a BMW M4, but it's a car that's so much more desirable, at least for me, than a BMW M4. I'm going to put it above the Viper. That's how much I like it, and maybe you could say that's irrational, but what I say is, it's my tier list, I'm putting the cars where I think they should go. But let's keep going with it. this Jeep, which I have conveniently forgotten the name of, is, I'll put the name up on screen, is basically a Fiat rebadged as a Jeep, and they tried to sell it over both in the US, where it didn't really sell because it had Fiat underpinnings, which didn't really suit US buyers' needs, and they tried to sell it in Europe and the UK, which also didn't work because no one wanted a Jeep that was basically a disguised Fiat. So yeah, didn't really go very well for them. And the fact that I've forgotten its name tells you all you need to know about it, really. I've got a massive memory through all this knowledge about cars, and I can't remember the name of this Jeep. So yes. Next car, the Toyota CHR, which is basically Toyota's attempt at making a Nissan Juke, except, I mean, it sort of succeeded because I see far too many of these, but it certainly didn't have the storm of buyers trying to buy it as the Juke did. Now, I can't bring myself to hate it as much as the Juke, but it's certainly close because it is just as ugly, and it's got a very similar sort of design. I think here is a good place to put it, right down below with all of its fellow terrible, terrible cars. What isn't a terrible, terrible car, however, is this, the Dodge Magnum SRT8, which is basically a Dodge Charger estate, and these Magnums, they were passed up when they were new. It's even the SRT8s, because everyone just bought Chargers instead. And that's a shame now, because everyone is starting to realise just how good these things were and just how cool they were. And I, one of those people. I mean, to be fair, I've always liked the Magnum. But despite, I mean, yes, the styling is a bit odd, but I don't hate it, and it's a Charger estate. What more can you want? I'm going to put it just below this Nissan Stadia. I think that's a good place to put it. I mean, because of course it was going to go above the Charger. Because I mean, this generation of Charger, I'm not so sure it would suit a Magnum, but this generation, yes, the blocky Charger that suits a Magnum. Next car, the Ferrari LaFerrari, or I suppose you could technically the Italian pronunciation translates to Ferrari the Ferrari. Terrible name, fantastic car. It's truly one of the greatest cars of all time. The third member of the hypercar Holy Trinity. Yeah, it's going straight up here. I believe I have the 918 and the P1 already on here, I believe. Although maybe I don't, because I can't spot them at the minute. I've done so many cars, I'm starting to forget which ones I have and haven't done. Which makes remembering which comments have given me a duplicate car slightly difficult. Don't think I have got the other two on here. Okay, this is the first member of the hypercar Holy Trinity, and arguably it's my least favourite, but that's like saying my least favourite precious metal is bronze or something. They're still all absolutely fantastic, incredible machines. I think this one is going to go above the CX-75, and I'm moving this F50 and F40 up slightly as well. Yes. Also going to move the Aventador Ultima below the original Diablo. Next car, the Nissan Kicks, which is basically from what I can see, it's basically a smaller version of the Duke. Certainly, styling wise, it reminds me very much of the Duke, but not as bad. But still, a very boring, uninspired car that doesn't really strike any sort of emotion in me, really. Next car, the GMC Hummer EV. Now, I can't exactly see how they can claim this is an eco-friendly car, because they do, believe it or not, when it weighs as much as an average oil tanker. Like, this is the very definition of ridiculous American pickup trucks. With something that weighs this much, handles this poorly, and accelerates so quickly, something bad is inevitably going to happen. And it's not even like you get a work of art in exchange for all of this danger. You don't. You get something that's really rather hideous. It's worse than the old Hummers, which I didn't like that much to begin with, but this is everything that's wrong with modern American cars. Like, if you could define what's wrong with modern American cars, you just get a picture of the Hummer EV. It's really, really, really bad. So much so that I think it's going to go right here. I'm debating putting it down here, but I don't think it really deserves it. No, not quite. Next car, the Ferrari GTC4 Lusso, which is the successor to the FF and technically the predecessor to the Purosangue. Now, certainly I prefer it to Purosangue, without a doubt, although I can never decide whether or not I prefer it to the FF. Some days I do, some days I don't. I think today's one of the days I do. I think I prefer it to the FF today. Next car, the Chevrolet Corvair, which was famously known for being dangerous, although that's not true. The car actually got a really bad rap in Ralph Nader's book Unsafe at Any Speed, where he just singled out the Corvair as an example of why American cars were so unsafe. Although, unfortunately for the Corvair, it was actually safer than a lot of modern American cars. Well, modern for the time. Contemporary American cars, I should say. And that's a shame, because that book damaged the Corvair's reputation beyond repair, really. And it sold it on for quite a few years. It was actually the first turbocharged production car, one variant, although that was predictably unreliable, but I admire the innovation. But yeah, the poor Corvair had its reputation irreversibly damaged, and that's a shame, because it's rear engine, rear wheel drive. It's by no means a proper sports car, but it's an interesting car, and I have a soft spot for it, especially for how it was unfairly maligned. I think putting it above this Crown Vic police car is a fair place. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Next car, the Aston Martin DBX, which, as it was revealed, I mean, it was inevitable. Aston Martin were going to do this, especially with the relative runaway success that the Urus was. And no, I don't really like it that much. It's just another one of these modern SUVs that, like supercar SUVs, that, yeah, they bring more money into the brand, which, to be fair, Aston Martin does sort of need, not really being truly owned by anyone. I mean, it's got various companies with stakes in it, but it's not really owned by one true company. So yeah, the DBX, was it needed? Probably. Is it a good car? No. To put it bluntly. I'm going to put it with these two. I think that's fair. Like, they're all three together. Next car, the Jaguar E-Type Series 1 4.2, which is one of the most iconic cars in the world, and also one of the most beautiful. Like, its styling just cannot be faulted. I just enjoy. Every time I see an E-Type, I just enjoy looking at it, even if I can't drive it or own it. It's just a pleasure to look at it, and that's a great thing for a car to be able to do. I think, and for its time, it was a very good car. It was a bit borderline supercar. I'd say it was a supercar when it was new, and yeah, it was just a very fast car. And to be fair, it's more of a GT, and a very effective GT at that. I mean, you could still relatively reasonably go Grand Touring in one today. I mean, yeah, sure, you'd probably be more comfortable in a Bentley, but this would do the job just fine, and it'll get you to your destination in probably a lot more style than a Bentley, although the Bentley here GT V8S is a better car. Actually going to move it down below this FF. Next we have the Kia EV9, which Kia have surprisingly really moved up market in recent years. They were a cheap manufacturer, really, making cheap cars. Very recently they've gone really pushed up and become a premium manufacturer with surprising success, and I admire that. Although it does mean that we have to endure things like the EV9. So everything comes at a cost, I suppose. Next we have the new Jeep Grand Cherokee, which is predictably ridiculously massive and unredeemable because it's not really got any other redeeming features. Here's a good place for it. Now, our final car, the McLaren 720S, which was a marked improvement on the 650S and certainly one of the greatest supercars of its day. I suppose of its day. To be fair, it's been replaced already by the 750S. I swear, I think the 720 is the newest one in production sometimes, but nope. It's been replaced by the 750, which is a better car. Like, there's no doubt about it, the 750 is a better car. But the 720 is still an excellent machine. So yes, there's the tier list as it stands. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to put your cars in the comments below. So yes, have a great day or night or evening or wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.